I pray to the Almighty that our words today should be true in their content and in their conclusion. My friends, first of all I must say it is a great privilege to have the opportunity to talk to you here today in Berlin. My memories go back to before the Second World War, and there's a lot of emotion attached to having the opportunity to be in Germany and to see how we can all be at peace with each other. And this is really a lesson for mankind all around the world. But let me get to the point of today's gathering. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ahron Cohen. I live in Manchester, England. I'm one of the group known as Orthodox Jews who oppose Zionism. That is not true. Not Orthodox Jews who oppose Zionism. Orthodox Jews who show how Orthodox Judaism opposes Zionism, because real authentic Judaism has nothing to do with Zionism, and that is the purpose of our coming out to these events. Judaism is a age-old, heavenly, we are taught it's a heavenly given way of life, going back thousands of years, full of moral standards, of ethics, compassion for one's fellow man. But what we see today in Palestine, in the so-called state of Israel, who claim to speak in the name of the Jewish people, is not Judaism, as they would have the world believe, but something completely different. Something called Zionism. Zionism is a harsh nationalism, 100 years old. Judaism is thousands of years old. There are those who wish to try and represent Zionism as being part of Judaism, and they have succeeded in getting the world to think that that is the case, both among Jewish and sadly among many, both among non-Jewish and sadly among many Jewish people who are confused as to what the essence of Zionism is. But one should know that if Zionism had been part of Judaism, Judaism is thousands of years old, Zionism is 100 years old. If Zionism had been part of Judaism, it would have been with us a long, long time before the time it did show itself. One should know that the hallmark of Judaism is compassion and humility. The hallmark of Zionism is arrogance and aggression. And what did the Zionists want to do? They wanted to form a state for Jewish people. That was their claim. But this idea, as I'm sure you've heard from the previous speakers, is against our teaching, against our belief, absolutely contrary to our belief. And the two don't go together in any way. On top of that, they wanted to form a state in somebody else's country where there was an indigenous population living there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they came along and they wanted to impose themselves on the indigenous population, an act in itself totally contrary to humanitarian values, Jewish religious humanitarian values. So Zionism and Judaism are two different things. Now we are here today because of the fact that the government of the so-called Zionist state would like to obtain from this country's resources, military help. What a terrible tragedy that is, that they should come and have to try and get military help, get nuclear submarines costing billions of pounds, which could be money which could be used for the good of mankind, when really the whole thing is unnecessary. If there was to be an acceptance of the fact that the whole idea of Zionism is a flawed concept, then there would be no need for nuclear submarines. There would be no need for military action. The world talks about wishing to make peace between the Palestinians and the Zionists. There never can be peace between Palestinians and Zionists. There can be peace in Palestine, but only when the whole idea of Zionism disappears, hopefully peacefully. When the idea of Zionism disappears, when everybody in this Palestine can live together in a regime which is totally in accordance with the aspirations of the Palestinian people, when everybody will be able to live peacefully together as they have done for generations. Long before the Zionists came, there had been a small indigenous population in Palestine, Jewish population in Palestine, which had lived harmoniously and peacefully for generations alongside the Palestinian people. And we pray that the nations of the world should realize that their efforts for peace will never succeed until they begin to realize the falsehood of the existence of the state known of Israel as Israel, and to realize that this does not represent the Jewish people, this does not help the Jewish people, and that there will only be real peace in Palestine when the whole essence, the whole concept of a Zionist state, that is a state for one particular group of people in Palestine, when that disappears. It can disappear peacefully, as we saw the apartheid regime in South Africa disappeared peacefully. The great Soviet Union disappeared peacefully. The Almighty can help that this flawed, false concept, which is against the wishes of the Almighty and contrary to all ideas, all humanitarian ideas, then this false concept can also disappear. I won't go on because you've heard from previous speakers the ideas that I'm putting forward now, but we can only end with a prayer, with a fervent prayer, that we should all merit to see the time when the false concept of Zionism disappears, as I mentioned earlier, to be replaced by a regime in Palestine which will be acceptable and totally in accordance with the aspirations of the Palestinian people, who are the rightful governors of Palestine, and when Jews and Muslims, and indeed anybody, will be able to live peacefully alongside each other. And that should be followed speedily, hopefully by the time when the whole world will merit the revelation of the glory of the Almighty. Amen.